The video series for me is a way to kind of give back to the other investors, especially the new investors that are entering the resource sector. You know, one of those things is you're going to have to make mistakes on your own, but if you can minimize those, it gives you the longevity in the sector to, hopefully hit one of those spikes when the euphoria hits and sentiment's at its peak, and you can actually make some money that can change your life. I thought if I work harder, get a promotion, I'll make more money and ultimately attain the freedom I was looking for. Working longer hours on things that I really didn't care about wasn't the way to my personal freedom. Actually, quite the contrary. I took the promotions. I put in way more time than I had wanted to and originally probably thought I was going to. And so that idea of freedom really wasn't there. Whether we realize it or not, we're all looking for it. It comes in all shapes and sizes. For some, freedom includes having a family, a good paying job, 3 weeks of holidays, and a few beers on the weekend. For others, it's a little different. Freedom is the power to live as they wish. It's escaping the 9 to 5, watching the sunrise as you start your day, walking on the beach, feeling the water over your feet, the sun at your back. It's the freedom to choose how you work and what you work on. It's the ability to pursue your interests.
I want you to talk about why you are making a video series first, just off the cuff, as easy as you can, just right into the camera, as awkward as it can be. Why did you decide to make a video series?
I want to take you on a trip with me to the sites of these companies' projects that I'm invested in, and show you the investment thesis, hands-on or boots on the ground, and why I'm investing in these companies, why I'm invested probably more importantly in these people. It's when valuations for these, especially junior mining companies, are at their lowest, and if you can pick the right company, man, when that sentiment changes, that is when you can have a life-changing experience. Personal freedom is a big deal for me, and I knew this when I was in my career in the mainstream 9 to 5, and it was something I was always trying to attain. And I thought my original premise was like, you know what, I work hard, try to stand out, get those promotions, make more money, and I'm gonna attain this freedom and be able to have more time with my family and such. It didn't end up being that way.
Start now.
I'm an engineer, and for a decade worked 9 to 5 in the steel manufacturing industry. By 2013, things were looking particularly hopeless. I said to myself, I have two choices. I can cut my losses and walk away now, or I can double down on what I think are the best investments and potentially make a discernible difference in my life. I opted for the latter. So I sold my house and used 2/3 of the money to invest what I thought were the best junior resource companies. I had to wait 3 years, but in 2016, the market turned, and it changed my life. Freedom is something that I have, and I've worked my whole life for. But the junior resource sector, is a beast all on its own. It's got its own set of risks. It's got its own set of sort of type of company that's going to fit the different investors' mindset and risk level. And really, you take that knowledge and it's how it's practically applied. And that's where the site visit videos come into play. And, I was very lucky and probably definitely some ignorance there too, to take some risk. And that allowed me to attain the financial freedom, which ultimately gave me that personal freedom. Now today with my family of 4 kids, we homeschool. I'm at home every day with them. And to me, that is the biggest piece of freedom that I can, hope to have. And more and more, while the financial freedom was a big part of it, and I think it's going to be for everybody. It gives you that confidence to kind of come out of the box and do different things. But finding and seeing what the real freedoms are in life is something that I've learned, and it's taken me 40 years for me to kind of get to that point. But I see it now, and while it's not perfected, I'm trying to get better at it. I absolutely couldn't see myself down here full time anymore. I think if you would have asked me, 10 years ago, I think that's probably would have been one of my goals. But so much has changed, and now part of my personal freedom is to be as far away from the city as possible. When I left my job, back in 2016, when we were just starting our family, had 2 kids at the time. We wanted to go somewhere where we'd have support for us and for the kids, when we were working. And so the county was the natural place, with my wife's family being from the area. And it's worked out tremendously well, and I definitely couldn't go back. The definition of a junior mining company is subjective to a point. I would say that a junior mining company has a market cap that's under $1 billion. But the key is that they're in the development stage or the exploration stage. And really, this is the heart of the junior mining sector. These people are going out, finding deposits around the world. They're doing the grunt work for the senior miners, who are typically buying these companies after they've made a really good discovery. They've delineated, they've de-risked it, and this is how a lot of investors, especially on the high side, make their money. Looking back, I can't emphasize enough the impact of mentors. And it's not just in investing, it's been throughout my life. I didn't see it at the time, but there was a couple people that made a massive impact on me. And along the way, you're learning things, and it's really shaped where I've come today. You move on to the steel industry, which is, again, the polar opposite of where I came from pharmaceuticals. And probably some of the most impact for me as a person happened in the steel industry, and a few people in particular that were in my office that I owe a debt of gratitude to because of the impact they've made, teaching me not only how to excel in that environment in steel manufacturing, but also how to be a good person and how you relate to a wide variety of people. I'm an engineer by trade, very much exposed to a lot of white-collar people, but working in the steel industry, it's the exact opposite. It's a lot of blue-collar guys, and not that I necessarily didn't have that experience, but having these guys come in and accept you as sort of one of them is something that I think is probably learned for most people. These mentors I had, helped in that transition and a number of other things. And then you get into the investment world. I needed to make this transition in my life, and I didn't have any access to these guys on a personal basis. But what I was able to do, I was able to connect with a few people whose message resonated with me, and I followed them to the hilt. I think fear is quite possibly the biggest thing that stands in most people's ways. I think that if my career in steel manufacturing hadn't gotten to the point where I really didn't enjoy it, and that emotion linked to that wasn't strong enough, I probably would never been able to overcome the fear that I needed to take such a big risk. And so overcoming fear, overcoming doubt in yourself is something that everybody has to deal with in some shape or form. And really, along the way, you're tested. So you make that first jump, and I did. I sold my house. Then I was tested by picking the right companies. Then I was tested by the ebbs and flows of the market, which were undoubtedly bearish. Looking back at my beginning as an investor in the last cycle, we'd just come off a historic 11-year run in the gold market, which was followed by an equally historic bear market in the ensuing years. So a bear market is a down market. It's when sentiment or investor outlook is at its worst. You have got the flow of money is very much out of the stock market or out of that portion of the sector that you're looking at. I mean, conversely, a bull market is the polar opposite. It's when everybody's attracted to it. There's a ton of momentum. It's building to this kind of euphoric stage. And the bull market, of course, is where you make the money. But you need to be invested when people aren't interested. You need to be deploying money into the best companies in the bear portion of the cycle so you can reap the benefits in the bull portion of the cycle. Right now, the market is terrible. Quite frankly, it's way off from where we were, even in the little boom we had in 2020. And, contrary to how many may think, lots of people like to be attracted by momentum, people making money, and it builds and it builds. But through mentors and through my own experience, I know that you make money when nobody else is interested. For a lot of people, it's not going to be an option. You're not going to be able to go to site and see how things are laid out in terms of the project, their proximity to other projects, their proximity to other towns, to whatever society or culture is predominant in that area. That's what I'm trying to convey in the video series and bring to you. But it is hard. It's ultra hard to buy when nobody else cares. And for me, the video series is timed perfectly. The people that are listening, I think, are in for, what could be life-changing results. I think most of all, I want investors to come away with, some of the lessons to be learned, just at your basic level investing, sort of the do's and don'ts. It's what we're learning from mentors and, my experience and applying it to those site visits and the companies that I'm personally invested in and why I am. So if there's tidbits of information you can take from that process, then that's what I'm trying to convey. My name is Brian Leni. Join me on my journey as a junior resource sector investor.